In this lesson, we'll review the scoring table for the official PSAT practice test. I'll also discuss the scoring process for national merit qualification. So once you've taken the test, you will use this table to compute your scores for all three subjects: reading, writing, and math. Let's start with math. There are a total of 48 questions on both sections. Remember, there's a calculator permitted and not permitted, and you simply count the number of correct responses. If you didn't get a question correct, it doesn't matter if you left it blank or you put something down and missed it. All that matters on this new test is how many you answered correctly. And so once you count how many correct choices you responded, that is your raw score. And so there are three different tables based on your raw score. On the math with 48 questions, I'm just going to scroll down. Here's 48, that's your raw score. This last column here corresponds to your scaled score on the math. That would be a perfect 760. If, let's say, you missed 8 questions, you would have a 40 on the math. That would be a 720, and so on. So hopefully you can find your scaled score. Hopefully you're on this side, right? Not this side. It's the same for the other two subjects. So let's do the reading now. I'll use a different color. So the reading has a total of 47 questions. So count how many questions you answered correctly. Here's 47. And this column here is reading. That would be a 38. That's your test score, and you just have to multiply that by 10, and that would be your perfect 380. Remember, the reading and writing are 50% of the 760, so each has a maximum of 380. Let's say you missed even 10 questions, which seems like a lot of questions on the reading. You would then get a 320. And finally, let's do the writing. The writing has a total of 44 questions. If you answered them all correctly, here's your test score of 38 times 10. That would be a 380. Let's say you missed 8 questions on the reading, so then you would have a 36, and that would be a 320. So hopefully you can calculate your score. And now I just want to discuss the process for national merit. So national merit, just to review, it really is a one-shot deal. It is 11th grade junior year. So even if you took the test for practice freshman year, now the College Board is offering a PSAT in the spring of 10th grade. The only time it counts for national merit is 11th grade. And to qualify, it is the top 1% of your state. So there is variance depending on what state you're in. And I want to now discuss how the scoring works. And so it's a little bit different than the total score on the PSAT. So remember, we have 3 sections. We have math, we have reading and writing. And on the whole test, we know it's 760, 380, 380. For national merit, though, you first have to start with your test scores. Now, we just did the test scores for the writing and the reading. The test scores are out of 38. That's the maximum. And so, again, we figured out the test scores just with the reading and writing before we multiplied by 10. So that's the test score for those two. For the math, it's a little bit different because, remember, we just corresponded to a scaled score at a 760. So whatever your scale score is, you have to divide it by 20, and that is your test score for math. So these three numbers of 38, these are the maximum scores in each subject on the PSAT for national merit. If you add those up, you get 114. And if you notice, one of the big differences for calculating this score is on the whole test, math was 50%, reading and writing were 25. But with this scale, they're all equal, they're all 1/3. So whatever that number is when you add all three of them out of 38, out of 114, you then multiply that number by 2, and then you arrive at 228. This is the maximum student selection index for national merit. This is called the selection index. And if you recall, if you took the test before it changed, the selection index used to be out of 240, where math, reading, and writing were each out of 80. However, now the maximum is 228. Now, when this scale first was announced, most people suspected, because the maximum selection index is 12 points lower, that the qualification for national merit would correspondingly be lower. Reasonable. However, the consensus is, even though it hasn't been confirmed, that the qualification for selection index state by state will be pretty close to the previous number before it changed at a 240. And the reason is the SAT and PSAT was previously a reasoning test where lots of puzzles and brain teasers that didn't necessarily qualify with high achieving academic work. It was more of a reasoning test. However, now it's much more aligned with a common core, and I think students, especially high achieving ones, will do pretty well on this new test. So again, that hasn't been confirmed, but that's what the theory is, that whatever the selection index at a 240, it's probably going to be pretty close with this new index. So just keep that in mind, and hopefully I will see you in the videos.